on the recorder. And let me think, I can go right here and I can put Nissan in.
I'm sure Brian and Shiwa and others will show up soon, right?
Well, she was walking around. She said she's coming. And I hit Brian up this morning and I hit Eddie last week. So I sent everybody an email. And you know Scott from North Carolina group?
Scott Guillotine, yep.
Yeah, he said he'll come after his group. They go till 5:30 though.
Yeah,
And I said,
I know. I've been to his meetings.
yeah. And
They're actually making a lot of progress in North Carolina. They have a payment link up that so they have a way to get donations and go and get in. They seem to have all their ducks in a row.
well, North Carolina is a happening place. There's what, 3 swing districts in North Carolina for Congress, and
Something like that.
And then the Senate's a toss up, I think. We'll find out. Brian's here. We'll find out. Here comes
What's up, Brian?
Hey, how's everybody?
Good.
Good.
I'm putting you in the list. Hi, Chihuahua.
Hello, Chihuahua. How are you, Nissan? I haven't seen you for a few weeks.
Yeah, things have been kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, there you come. Yeah. So we're up and we're ready, and I don't know where Eddie is. But and I don't know who else was supposed to be here tonight.
Eddie and Scott.
Yeah. Well,
Scott's gonna be coming later. Yeah.
I'm going to, this is the agenda. So I'm going to get this out of my way. Welcome. Deliberative Democracy is a weekly discussion group. Our focus is supporting self-government through citizen assembly and deliberative democracy as a replacement for representative government. I may change that to a cover.
Somebody needs to mute. There's radio coming through.
Is it
Me or is it TC?
You're not hearing radio? Oh, well, then it's probably a video that's running on my machine. Okay, just a minute, I'll fix it. Go ahead.
Okay. We are currently adding the focus of citizens' climate lobby, the carbon tax, to our study of citizens' legislation, the blueprint for a better America, and building the American Union. We will be exploring the citizens' climate lobby and how to incorporate the CCL core values into our personal lives and to spread incorporating these values as the shift necessary for people to come together and do big things. The flow of the meeting is to practice self-governing sociocracy. Depending on group size and subject matter, we can do rounds in order or entertain conscientious crosstalk. Keep in mind that on Zoom, when we talk over each other, no one is heard. Give speakers a chance to complete their thoughts. For open discussion, raise your hand to speak. We encourage respectful, open-minded, nonviolent communication. Thanks for attending. Let's begin. So introduction. And I guess I'll start. I'm TC, I'm from Oceanside, I'm a retired carpenter. My passion this week is in seeing my moonshot, which is to see the Citizens Assembly deliberative democracy come into reality. So let's see, it was Nissan.
Yeah, hello, I'm Nissan. I am the administrative coordinator for the United People's Assembly and the tech coordinator for the New York People's Assembly. And my passion and I'd advocate for is liquid democracy, also known as vote by proxy, parliamentary sociocracy, and anything that would help us get functioning government and mindset into the minds of citizens.
Thank you, Nissan. Brian?
My name is Brian, I'm an organizer with the American Union, trying to win us a better social contract that ends poverty, ends mass incarceration, and ends the endless wars.
Chihuahua.
I'm Chiwa from Oceanside, California. I'm a climate reality leader, and my passion is seeing families through the climate crisis in a way that empowers them by getting their children inspired to inspire the adults to do something about this mess we're in.
Thank you. So, old business, are there any lingering thoughts from last week? And I have a 2-minute video that was Chiwa and Brian and myself. And
Well, you know, I watched the video today.
oh,
That one, not
I
that
thought
one.
that was you talking, Chiwa. I'll
No,
start over.
that's not the right one, is it?
Yeah, this is it.
They called The Parallel Society versus Totalitarianism, How to Create a Free World. And it was about what they did, but they just started ignoring the government, and at local levels just started creating their own parallel systems. And oh, I know what it was. It was in Eastern Europe. And they were saying basically that was the reason that the Iron Curtain fell, was that the people just started creating their own system so they could function even if the government failed, and totally ignore the government and act outside the government. And that's probably the safest, the most likely to succeed path to go, with the government says they are.
I'm calling for that. The Citizens Assembly outside of the
Yeah,
government. We start out with what Brian did. We get some legislation, we get a bunch of people to agree to it, and then we give it to the legislation and put pressure on them to pass it. And then eventually enough people will understand that we can actually write better legislation than what they're doing. And at that point, they'll just become functionaries. You know, they won't have any real power. They'll just be functionaries.
What's wrong with, I mean, the same way that, you know, the kings and queens, you know, are like just dignitaries, they're figureheads.
Right, they're just
That's fine. Let everybody run. Whoever wants to be our figurehead congressman, that's fine, as long as they're willing to be the people's rubber stamp.
Right.
Because
So-
again, because making that change doesn't require amending the Constitution. We could just overlay this system right over the existing one.
So you're on it, Brian. And so that.
Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about
Oh,
that particular
wait a
race
minute.
down in South.
How about you shut up? Let me find where I am. Okay. So I think that's a good explanation of where my mind is at. with my long view of, and the other thing I was thinking is that I see all these different organizations that email me, and I'm going to start talking to them about maybe they want to hook up with us, you know. So any other thoughts or things to say?
Oh,
Okay, Nissan's hand up.
yeah, so just context of why that worked is because the Soviet Union, they overstretched themselves, so their underlying enforcement mechanisms failed. This will not happen if could not happen if the enforcement mechanisms were still in use and under control by the powers that be. So right now, that's still the case in the United States. It is weakening though, and it's been weakening for a while. I mean, that's why we had the January 6th, episode. I mean, there was barely any security there. And even when they did have to figure out they needed more security, they had to weed out their people because they knew that those people were not reliable and probably would have joined the revolution, joined the storming. So I don't think we're to that point just yet. We could do things to push that over to the edge, but also with the understanding there is already a group of people trying to do that in order to impose their own authoritarian ideals. So, that's blocking them as much as it's blocking us. So we're not, and they're far more ahead of the game than we are. So having that go down at this time would be in a not advantageous for us because we are not prepared to take advantage of it while they are. So
Okay, I hear you, and I think that we're at the stage right now about like incorporating the values that will move us to coming together and joining together. We're still too disjointed and too polarized. And but this is the beginning, and I think that Brian has shown us the way. And then come to find this other organization, it's got a lobby started. I mean, the people are coming together, and it just affirmed to me that what I would like to see is happening. So, I mean, it's not changing the world, but I see it. I can see it. Anything else? Okay. So here we are. Round 3, the new business. Does anyone have a burning desire to share, to clear before we start the dialogue? And I'm sharing what I got from the Citizens Assembly, the Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm joined their Resilience Building Circle. And they told me, if you would like to share what you're doing with others, feel free to research in the forum space on the community. You may find more people who'd like to join you for discussions. And on the flip side, you may find a lot of resonance in one or many of the national action teams. So they just invited us to invite them, I think.
To be part of, to check out their groups and see if there's something there we want to be part of.
That, and they said that feel free to research,
To reach.
to reach into our forum space on community. If you want to share what you're doing with others.
Right, yeah.
I think that's an invitation.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have anything to say? Any comments?
Brian, go.
I don't,
Like send the better blueprint for a better America to these guys.
well, that's why I went to their conference last weekend, the weekend before that,
Uh-huh.
right? And it was good. They're very focused on just the environment. There's a lot of privilege there, that these are people who can, from around the country, lots of retired people who can take off time to go fly to Washington, DC, and, you know, attend this conference and lobby their congressmen and things like that. And it's an important issue, and I don't mean in any way to disparage them for that, other than to say that we want to lift everybody up and give everybody that same amount of privilege of being able to you know, petition our government for redress of grievances. And so universal basic income needs to be one of the first priorities to address that. So I don't know. I'm not sure what else I want to add, other than, yeah, I made a few contacts there, but they're very focused on just the environment. And
They are, the number one value for them is focus. So they're very focused. Okay,
Yeah, the only problem with being too focused is you miss the forest for the trees.
right.
I'm afraid that the forest is going to be destroyed if we don't have somebody focusing on what they're focusing on.
So round 4 is, what is the citizen?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chihuahua. You want to finish your?
No, I
statement?
said it, but I didn't mean that to be harsh. It's just that I think their focus is absolutely critical.
Okay. So review the website. Why isn't it doing that?
Can't get the link up.
Oh, maybe I have to hit this over here.
No, just click on the whole thing. There you go.
Okay, this is their, well, actually, this is the dashboard that it takes me to. It won't take me to their original site, but there was something I had out that I wanted to show you that I don't see it right now.
If you want to go to their main page, you click on the icon on the top right hand side. No, the try clicking where it says community.
Clicking where?
Where it says community next to dashboard. That should be the home page. Yeah, if you click there,
Right.
it should take you to the home page.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the home page is the dashboard.
Nope, that's this page.
It won't take me, it won't let me go there because I'm a member.
Okay.
But let me see.
Well, can you just copy the link and post it in the chat so we can open it?
Okay, here it is. This is better. This just tells us what it is. A climate change organization. Citizens Climate Lobby is a climate change organization that exists to create the political will for a livable world by enabling individuals breakthroughs and exercise of personal and political power. Well, they look diverse. Nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots advocacy climate change organization focused on national policies to address the climate movement. And I won't go read all of that, but I can tell you they're really in on this carbon tax and the carbon dividend. So,
Okay.
carbon dividend from a carbon tax would solve one issue.
I think they put them together, don't they, Brian? What is it in the blueprint?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What is the carbon tax and the dividend is that in the same bill?
In their proposed legislation, yeah, HR 2307.
Okay, and what about in the blueprint?
It's just the carbon fee, but starting at a higher rate of $20 per metric ton instead of $15 per metric ton, and without the exemptions for the U.S. military and for the production of plastic. Under the Citizens Climate Lobby bill, those things would be exempt from paying the carbon fee.
Also, you're saying that if we pass the blueprint, there'll be a UBI, Americans Job Program.
But isn't a significant portion of our waste come from the military?
Yeah, the U.S. military is the world's largest single consumer of fossil fuels, but their
Yes.
proposed legislation would refund any carbon fee to the military for whatever fuel they bought.
Their bill?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that actually doesn't solve much anything.
No,
Well,
that doesn't
it
solve much.
does. I mean, because while they're the largest, they're only like 2% or something like that. So,
Yeah, but we don't want to give the military more unless,
I
of
don't
course, they
know.
take my idea and actually make it so we declare a war on climate and therefore take all the funds from the United States military and funnel that actually into green technology and stuff. And
You
then
and
that would,
I are working on that.
yeah. I mean, it's the best way to do it. And right now, the cleanest way of getting anything done is to actually do space harvesting. So, and then the only ones that could actually do that would be the military, because there's a lot of energy we can get from the moon, like ridiculous amounts, because it has deuterium, it has thorium, it has, what was that other thing? Helium-3. Great sources of energy right there.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Chiwa's got her hand up. Yay.
I had understood that it had moved past that. Am I correct in this or not? That things had moved beyond where we're talking about to the point where they're trying to fit something into the reconciliation bill that does not have the dividend in it? Isn't that the case?
Didn't that
Okay.
fail?
I don't know.
I thought the reconciliation bill failed completely.
They're
So
still working on it.
So yeah, so like TC said, they're still working on trying to do something by the end of August. But yeah, if they do, they can't really do the dividend in the reconciliation. So it would just be the carbon fee, but then not the dividend. And
So once
it's
again,
still a
not
very
solving
tough sell because, of course, that would increase the price of gas. And so without the dividend, it's just.
So I gotta say that I'm back to what Nissan said, and I really do think that the focus on the environment is absolutely critical, but it does seem to me that having a carbon tax without the dividend could be highly counterproductive.
Yes, unless we pass the American blueprint, and that would give us.
No, even the American blueprint has issues. That I stated out before.
Okay. Well, this is really good because I'm learning a lot about this Citizens Climate Lobby that I didn't know, because I tend to just see things through rose-colored glasses, and I just get excited and I say, "Oh boy, they're doing what I want to do." And
On the outside looking in, everybody's trying to do what is the right thing to do, but when you get down into the weeds of it, when anything gets proposed, is things that are not actually solving the problem.
well, and then Brian,
Or the things that would solve the problem are highly suppressed.
and the point you brought up, Brian, about it being the privileged, they are in government. I mean, they're arm in arm with the politicians and the lobbyists, and they're in that privileged class. You're right. So
Seems to me that, I mean, Brian is right. We do need some way to put us all in that class of privilege. But in the meantime, we should be really glad that there are people who have time.
okay.
But that's the kind of the catch 22, is it? Because if you have the time to do it, then you also have the privilege that comes along with, and you have privilege that comes along with it. That privilege changes your outlook on the things.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
so that you, instead of looking at these people and these plans as against you, you look at those things as being part with you. So you become into that. So you, in essence, become part of the club.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. This next part is round 5 is explore the CCL core values. And I'm real fond of this because I feel like if I can incorporate these values in my life, I will be open to deal with people from a better place than where I am when I'm in not in this place. So the first one is focus. And I would also add to that mindfulness. And the second one is optimism. That's positive thought, optimism. Then relationships is how we relate to each other is very important, in my opinion. And our integrity, that our behavior and our words match. And personal power is where we stand together as one, and being nonpartisan, that leads to diversity. So I think that if everybody was able to incorporate those values into their life, that a lot of this division and polarization would go away. Now, tell me why not? Nissan's got his hand up.
Yeah, I was all with that until that last sentence, that, you know, all relationships are more important than passing legislation. In other words, getting results.
Right.
I don't know. I don't give a damn what the other guy thinks, as long as he's on board with what I want. that's what I care about. I care about results at the end of the day. I mean, we can all go sing Kumbaya, but if our planet's burning while we sing Kumbaya, that's how we're gonna think.
Right on.
You know, I don't think singing Kumbaya with the Lord is going to save the planet. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't. So I mean, I understand why most people feel that way. You know, feel good-hearted and all the other thing, and you know, all come together. But you got to understand. Sometimes there's just the right thing, and then there's not the right thing. And
Okay.
no matter how much you try to shiny up a turd, at the end of the day, it's a turd. I'm sorry. That's just the way things are. You know. So if I see the problem is these people in government, they're the enemy. I'm not going to try to make friends with them.
Okay.
Because that goes is fundamentally against my goals. That's just how it is. You can't make friends with somebody that's opposite ends of you. You can't do that. That doesn't work. If you do that, all you're doing is losing out on what you want. You're compromising on what your values are.
Right.
That's not helpful. I'm sorry.
PC, would you show us that list again so we can see the order that he's objecting to?
Right here, so that we may realize that getting people on board with these values is important as passing legislation.
Oh, that's what he was objecting to. Okay.
Yes. He was okay with weren't you, Nissan, okay with these values? It was just this idea down here Making feelings more important than action, I think, is the way it reads.
Yeah,
Well, I would say to this that it would be much better if everybody held these values, we wouldn't perhaps even need to pass some of this legislation. But
yeah, but we had,
that is a dream world, not the world that we actually live in.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree with you, Nissan, that the legislation is critical because we're not there.
Right. Well, that's why I like you to be here, Nissan. You give me such balance because, I do live in that dream world and I like it. So,
I mean, I don't blame.
anything else? Brian, you got anything?
No, not really.
All right. Well, let's see where we are now. I was going to say, talk about how deliberative democracy can support CCL's current focus on the carbon tax with the citizens rebate. Well, we can't because we just talked about that.
Yeah.
And building a lobby to continue to support the blueprint for a better America and building the American Union. What I was really after was how can we do both?
No. Well, not, because Brian's idea of how to solve climate change is fundamentally different than that of their way of solving climate change.
Can you say that again?
Brian's version of how the blueprint of better America solves climate change is fundamentally at odds with their idea of how to solve climate change. So unless Brian is feel like he could change that legislation to match theirs, then there'd be no conflict there.
Can you clarify that, Brian? How is it that you're at odds with them?
I guess I was curious about that too, what the fundamental difference is.
Because the way you do it is you send the funds through the you're doing a tax that sends funds to the United Nations in a subcommittee, which is basically all that's really doing is funneling our money into a program that builds up, third world countries. Theirs is a little more like internal. They're factually are more internal. So you use the government to tax the government and give the money back to the citizens. That's an internal thing. So that's fundamentally at odds. One's external, one's internal. That can't work.
Okay. Yeah, I think you might be misunderstanding that the UN group is the funding thing is one small part for, I forget, imports or exports or one of those things, and it comes from their model legislation.
No, I know, but even into the small part, I mean, what you would do, what would effectively incentivize is for them to move production outside of the country and other stuff to avoid the tax. Only a few people that can't move the tax thing will do it. But fundamentally, it's having all people to pay for them to move we're basically paying the citizens are effectively paying for the companies to pollute in third world countries. That's basically what would end up happening. That we don't let less. Because if you're spending money to industrialize other parts of the nation, you make it easier for companies to go over there and pollute and do the pollution over there, but we're paying for that. That's effectively what's going to happen.
I guess I don't quite see it that way.
You don't see that.
And
I know you don't see it
and it's
that way,
certainly
but
not to the extent where the good that would be accomplished through
I'm not
having
saying
this
there won't be
fee
no good, but I'm just
on
saying
all our domestic production, I think would far outweigh whatever slippage there would be between some manufacturers moving to third world countries and polluting there and then paying a fee that ends up going to the UN. So I guess I don't.
Yeah, but you don't go to the UN, and the UN's again paying to develop the countries. Who's going to develop the countries? The big national corporations. So
China.
that money's actually going back to them to do that.
I didn't see anything in here, Brian, that I understood.
What are you looking for, TC?
I'm looking in the blueprint.
For?
I just something to look at. Maybe I would come across something that sounded like what you're talking about. Here's the carbon border fee adjustment.
Yeah, right there, carbon border fee adjustment.
Right.
And impose and refund under a section will be referred to as the carbon whatever.
Okay, we don't do
Oh.
much manufacturing in America. We don't.
No.
That's not a real big problem. And we outsource most of the stuff already. So so the tax we're going to receive from a carbon tax would be minute compared to the taxes that would be from offshore. So basically, all you're really incentivizing is for them to do development offshore, out of the country. That's all you're doing. Because that tax is going to go right back to them via the United Nations to build the nation. They're gonna.
And my question is, will it reduce the use of carbon? That's my question.
No, it won't reduce the use of carbon. It'll just change where the carbon's used. I mean, that's effective in some part. I mean, less carbon in America, I guess. Slightly less carbon.
So I see how it's there's a lot to take into consideration when we talk about these things that I don't.
It's
really
real
know.
simple. Just look at the incentive structure. It's real simple. Just if
Okay.
you follow what the incentive is, you know what the action is going to be, because people follow the incentive. It's one-on-one. It's not hard.
So are you talking about the blueprint right now or about the?
No, I was talking about the blueprint, the way it's set, the way it's
blueprint.
written now,
Okay,
right? The way it's written now, from what Brian has told me, and Brian could correct me, right? But there's a carbon tax he wants to put on in the country, right? And
That's correct.
then I asked, okay, what's going to stop them from moving the carbon production somewhere else? And he says there's going to be offshore tax change.
Carbon border
limit.
fee
Yeah.
adjustment.
What's it
Yeah.
called?
Carbon border fee adjustment.
Carbon border fee adjustment. So any imports coming in will have an additional fee. So where does that fee go? Well, that fee then goes to a committee of the United Nations.
Okay, wait, but can we just for a second? So if you're saying that if I'm going to manufacture plastic widgets here in the United States and I paid the carbon fee, it would add an extra $1 to each one. And so if I go and manufacture them in Africa, so I don't have to pay that $1 tax here, when it gets to America, then I would have to pay $1, whether or not it goes to the US Treasury.
No,
or the UN is
no,
whatever.
because
And so that end price to the consumer ends up the same. So there's no advantage for me as a business because it's not going to reduce my cost to go pollute somewhere else.
yeah, no, you're missing another fundamental part though.
Okay. What's that?
Is that carbon fee, right, is going to be paid to build up the you said third world nations, third world countries.
I would say China's got that.
No. No. What he says that it's going to a specific United Nations committee which goal is to build and industrialize third world nations. That is their goal. So he's putting money to industrialize third world nations. Who's going to industrialize the third world nations? The major corporations. Ergo, they will then receive that tax fund again by building over in third world nations. So you're just incentivizing them for moving the operations to third world nations, because then they'll get, so whatever added tax you did, they'll get back immediately because you're paying them to do that. So you're paying them to move the operation. That's all you're doing. They don't have much operation here already. The most pollution is done in third world countries. You're just going to further that in hopes that they get advanced enough where they find a way to get rid of the pollution. But that's not really going to be a thing. But yeah, that's what's going to happen.
So you're saying that if they move to Africa or wherever to do
They're already in
their,
Africa, but
to
they'll
do
just
their
go to
polluting, wherever,
Yeah.
and they have to pay a fee to ship it, to import it for use here, and then that money goes back to the UN, which goes back to perhaps the same
corporation.
country.
the
No,
same corporation.
not to the
Yeah.
corporation. I thought it went to the countries to build infrastructure.
Yeah, but the countries have to pay somebody to do it. There's no government programs there. The companies will do it. Companies don't. The companies have the rights and IPs and stuff in order to build that stuff. The third world countries can't do it. If they could, they'd be industrialized already.
So they
That's the
just give
problem.
it, you're saying they would just give it to the companies?
Yeah, they have to because they can't do it themselves. If they could have done it themselves, they'd be industrialized already.
It's interesting.
That's just a fact. Just a fact.
I have my hand raised.
Go ahead.
I want
Go
to
ahead. Go ahead.
address, well, China's doing in Africa what we do, only they don't charge, they don't do it militarily. They make a deal with them. And so it's to everybody's, I just think we're going to see China eat our lunch in Africa. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because you're right. China is doing that. They copped that off us. We used to do that. We pioneered that strategy. Back when we were a fledgling country, we made deals with other countries to go help and give resources like that for free. And then when they build up, then we get that. Then India did that. Then was it India? Yeah, then India started doing that. Right? And that's why they grew up real quickly. And now China's doing that. So they're just copying off a strategy that was already done and is effective. Why we stopped doing it, I'm not really sure why we doing. I guess once you get to a certain size, you have to do it militarily. It won't work normally anymore.
So Brian, how would you respond to what Nissan was saying about what's going to happen with the money that gets shipped from the UN?
I guess I feel like it's going to be a small part of it. And one of the reasons is that we're trying to engage in international agreements to stop this exact kind of thing where companies will shift to a place where they can pollute without paying the cost for their ecological damage. And so again, but the United States needs to participate in that sort of framework for it to be a success. And so without this legislation or some other, something similar, it's much harder to persuade, developing countries that they should adopt a carbon fee too, if the United States isn't leading by example. So I guess I'm not too worried that we're creating a loophole that's going to undo everything. Citizens Climate Lobby says that this would reduce carbon emissions by 50% over 10 years, I believe. And
2030.
I don't have any reason to doubt that.
I don't see the truth and the logic of America needs to do it to set an example, because there's a third world country that already did it by example. They went carbon negative. I forgot the name of the country. It's a small country though, but they didn't even go carbon zero. They went carbon negative. So
Costa Rica.
was it Costa
Bhutan.
Rica? I forgot. I forget.
It was
It was one of the
Bhutan.
forest
It was
ones.
Bhutan.
What?
Bhutan is carbon negative.
Bhutan. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's
And,
Bhutan.
and also they measure national happiness instead of gross national product. They measure happiness.
Yeah. So
It's cool.
so there's no reason to follow the logic that third world countries should follow what first world countries do. In fact, that would be a way of going to disaster, because what worked for a first world country is not the same thing that's going to work for a third world country. It's just not. You can't. It's different. It's different things are at play. So
Well,
I
they
would,
go ahead, Chiwa.
I think it would be nice if they followed the example of countries like Bhutan, but it's very tempting, I would think, for them to say, you know, how can you expect us to do this when you're not doing it and you're one of the biggest polluters in the world.
actually, America is not the biggest polluter in the world.
We're one of.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Where are you getting that, Nissan? I mean, I'm
No,
not
it's
doubting-
it's the third world countries that are the biggest polluters. The first world countries actually pollute less than the third world countries. That's a fact.
Where are you getting that?
You want me to bring up the thing up? Hold on.
Per person, yes.
Oh, okay. I don't understand.
Yeah,
Nissan's got.
are you saying like per capita Nissan as opposed to
I
total?
think it's per capita, yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
has to be per
But we're
capita.
the third largest country in the world population wise, so we produce an awful lot of pollution.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't pollute,
and
but,
especially plastics.
yeah, I'm not saying we don't produce pollution, of course, but we're not the biggest polluters.
Chihuahua said
That's
we
why
were
we want.
one of.
That's why we want to industrial. That's why the idea of industrializing third world nations will increase, will decrease the CO2 emissions, because the because when industrialization, you have access to technologies to make it easier to be more green. That's the whole concept, the whole thing behind industrialization of third world countries.
This is very interesting.
China, India, the United States, and I just read, wait a minute. The top 5 countries that produced the most CO2 in 2020 were the United States, China, Russia, Germany, and the UK. And that's from Investopedia.
Well, I would like to do what in Bhutan, they passed a law that a certain amount of the land has to be forest. You know, and that's why they're carbon negative, because they're a carbon sink, because they have all these forests. And anyway, so Brian, how can we support you going forward with the American Union? Because we definitely want to do that.
Same ways as always. You know, spreading the word, helping you know, get on YouTube channels, podcasts, things like that. You know, donating to the PAC. You can do text banking, all sorts of things. And you know, spreading the word on social media, Twitter and Reddit.
Well, we didn't get to round 7 because it was like, I wanted to realize together how the goal of supporting a self-government through citizens assembly and distributive democracy as a replacement for representative government is
Wait,
being
Kiwa,
manifest.
Kiwa, real quick, where did you get that,
Investopedia.
Mr. Peter? Because I have a completely different one. It says the top 10 are India, Russia, Japan, Germany, Iran, South Korea, Saudi Arabia. And Indonesia.
Really? That I've
Yeah.
never read. I've read this list in many places.
This
Where
one's
you-
November 30th, 2021.
It
Is
has-
this, it was,
Well, this is 2020. Share of CO2 emissions by country. China 28%, the rest of the world 21%. The United States 15%, India 7%, Russia 5%, Japan 3%, and down from there.
okay.
So where's
Bangladesh is the worst in air quality. Let's see.
This is CO2 emissions.
Yeah, China with CO2 emissions. This was January 2022. Wow, I actually have multiple different things telling me different things. Wow, I have to look more into this because they actually have different lists with saying different things.
Well, that's good, because I've learned a lot tonight. And I appreciate you all being here and helping me learn these things.
Forbes magazine says, I'm sorry, Kishu.
Go ahead.
Forbes magazine says China, the US, India, Russia, Japan, Germany, South Korea, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Canada in that order.
Wow, we're getting different lists with different, okay, this is gonna take further looking into. That's a problem. We can't get concise data. We have all these different people saying different things.
Mhm.
So isn't that part of the problem we are having
Yes.
in all of the work we're doing is this?
But all the places, all the sites that I'm looking at are in agreement. United States, Canada, South, well, no, they're not exactly in agreement. Here's one that says South Korea is third in carbon footprint. Oh, this is
Yeah,
per capita. This one's per capita. So the others were not per capita.
I'll look more into that because I think the data have changed a lot. So
That's cool. I like it when you do research.
mhm.
Well, nobody showed up that I thought was going to show up beyond us. I thought Scott was going to come later. He didn't come. I thought maybe Jesse was going to come. He didn't make it. And I don't know
Oh, but
what.
I still think this was still a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I say, I learned a lot. I need to be grounded every once in a while. That's what I like. I mean, I look at you as my two sides of the same coin, or two. Yeah, it's like
The dreamer and the realist.
yes, there you go. And I think together we paint a better picture than either one of us alone. So, because anyway, so here we are. We got 5 minutes. Does anybody have anything they want to share before we go?
Just
I
have a
wish
good night, y'all.
Citizens Climate Lobby would do something about plastic.
Ask them. if they'll
I
do
wish they wouldn't exempt plastic from their model legislation.
Don't we have didn't we, I think we were engineering a bacteria that could break down plastic.
Oh yeah.
What?
Either, yeah, like some kind of organic robot that breaks down plastic.
And I saw something about that thorium reactor you were talking about last time.
Yeah, they bought one online in China, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what the results were.
Nissan, while I was at the Citizens Climate Lobby, I did a breakout session on how regulations, discourage clean energy. And so I asked if the roadblock to hydrogen cars was that some piece was banned because it was tangential to nuclear power, but the guy didn't know. So, but I was thinking about you.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, bring more information to this. Bring more knowledge, because a lot of things that many people don't know.
So before we go, Nissan, I want you to tell me about how good it would feel to turn the military into a force to do climate change, to battle climate change instead of
Yeah.
the interests of the world. It's like, I think
All
that's
you have to
what
do is
we can
change
agree
the
on
incentive.
there.
That's it. Just change the incentive structure.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta do. You gotta incentivize good behavior, start incentivizing bad behavior. That's all you need to do. It's not that hard.
we were talking about just have all those weapons manufacturers just start making the infrastructure for the sustainable reality that we
Yeah, they can make salination plants, they could make carbon capture facilities, they make all, they have access to technology beyond our even imagining right now. So I'm sure they got something. I mean,
All right.
I've read some of the redacted, they finally like released new reports and stuff like that. The declassified reports and stuff like that. And I mean, the stuff that we've seen so far, I mean, it's freaking ridiculous. And that's 50 years old or more. I don't even want to guess to what they have now. If any of the reports of what they have now are correct from, tangentially, then I mean, it would stuff that would literally change the course of human history. It's like,
All right, we got 1 minute. I'm just going to say thank you all and ask you each one to just give me a goodbye, how you feel, goodbye kind of thing.
Well, it's
Hey,
9
Bo.
o'clock here, so I'm gonna go make dinner.